My name is Jamie Piles. I joined Samaritan in December of 1996. We were homeschooling our kids, and we were already thinking outside the world's box, if you will. And I saw a little tiny classified ad about this new kind of idea I'd never heard of before. My first reaction was, that's the kind of thing that we would do, isn't it? And so I finally called the number, talked to them, and the more I asked them questions, the more I liked their answers.
Gold, hallelujah.
Oh, that's right.
Where's the stinger?
Yeah, hold
where's
on.
The stinger?
I got you.
Tripology.
Yeah.
Silver, hallelujah. Gold, hallelujah.
There you go. That's what I'm getting at. You'll understand here in a minute. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politics on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox. I'm the Water Boy, and we got our brother Jim in the studio. He's actually kind of a corporate partner. What we're doing, we'll talk more about that here in a minute.
Just a reminder, this year, our Fight Laugh Feast conference is at the Ark Encounter in Kentucky on the politics of six-day creation. It's October 11th through the 14th. The politics of six-day creation is the difference between a fixed standard of justice and a careening standard of justice. The difference between the corrosive relativism that creates mobs and anarchy that we're living in and the freedom of objectivity, truth, and due process. The politics of six-day creation establishes the authority and the sufficiency of God's word for all of life. From what is a man? What is a woman? When does human life begin? How is human society best organized? Come here, Ken Ham, Pastor Doug Wilson, Dr. Ben Merkel, Dr. Gordon Wilson. We have Michael Foster, Joe Rigney. I'll be giving a talk. And we have a live Cross Politics show on Saturday afternoon on Christian nationalism. So mark your calendars for October 11th through the 14th as we fight, laugh, and feast. We're kicking everything off with beer and psalms. Our amazing lineup of speakers. By the way, you can bring your whole family to beer and psalms. It's not like an adult-only kind of thing.
That's right.
There's jumping castles there, not for the adults. That's not for the adults.
Yeah. There's a bunch, except for Knox.
Yeah.
There's like juice and snacks and stuff for the whole family. So just come on out, and even if you're one of those teetotaler types, you're welcome. Just come on out. You don't have to even. You don't have to protect.
We got you.
It's totally
You don't
fine.
even have to touch it.
We got root beer. Yeah, root beer. Maybe there you go. We got the talks throughout the week. There's also some chunks of time reserved for going to visit the Ark
Creation Museum,
and the Creation
Ark
Museum.
Encounter. We got the pre-business makers conference.
Oh yeah, don't forget the
We got the after party on Thursday night. We got
conference.
some of this. If you don't sign up for our email, you're going to miss a lot of this stuff. So actually go, and that's actually important for what we're going to do with here, Jim, too. Go to fightlaughfeast.com or go to crosspolitic.com. Sign up for our email list so you know what's going on.
Miss anything.
Because there's a pastor's lunch, and that's free. Someone, a generous donor, pays for that for the pastors. So that way Christians and church leaders can network within at our conference. And then we got a business lunch on Saturday. We got stuff like that going on. So there's all sorts of fun little side projects going on, or fun little side opportunities.
And don't forget
and everything.
the petting zoo, where we're all going to watch Knox ride a camel.
It's a fundraising event for
Cross Politic. Yeah, you excited about that? Right?
It's for Knox educational fundraising or something.
Right. Yeah. We're really grateful.
Do you want to go to war? Because we could go to war. I'm for real.
We're grateful to have with us on the show today Mr. Jim Hunter. Jim Hunter is from Uri Brito's church down in Pensacola, Florida. Providence Church in Pensacola. By the way, if you're from the Pensacola area, that's a great church to check out.
Does he know you're here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
He's watching right now really closely. He's watching really closely.
Okay.
Yeah, we know who Uri is.
Don't say anything dumb.
Jim previously worked on the board for Chronicles magazine for 10 years.
That's correct.
96 to 2006. We were just talking before the show. Chronicles magazine recently published Pastor Doug Wilson. And then this last week, actually, Stephen Wolf had an article on the rise and decline of kind of the young restless reform movement.
Good article.
So check out Chronicles magazine. And you're the CEO of Alps Precious Metal Group.
Correct.
And so thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
I'm slightly shocked that you haven't been scared off yet. But
He's been here for a couple days too. And I want to just kind of preface this conversation because we're going to be talking about like investing, economy, gold, stuff like that. One of the reasons, why we kind of create our corporate partnership program is because we really want to bring people who are doing good things in the economy, Christian businesses who are doing good things in the economy that hopefully will serve our audience well. And then kind of like, particularly Jim, the conversation we're fixing to have with Jim is actually really relevant to what's going on in our economy. I mean, interest rates are high, Biden's still president. He's still asleep. The gas prices are high. All these, there's a number of factors where it looks like we might be turning into some sort of recession.
Yeah.
And so Well, what do you do? How do you David Bonson's had some great advice for our audience.
Right.
When things get difficult, work harder.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually learning about this as we were talking, as I was coordinating this show with Jim, kind of learning about gold, investing in gold and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the idea behind the show. Is actually just a good conversation that I thought would be really good for our audience as we kind of look to the next year, 2 years, 3 years of what might happen in our economy and how we should be thinking about our money.
So given this context, Jim, and given your work at Alps Precious Metals, what is your advice for people? What do you think people should? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different things people should be doing, but maybe given particularly your area expertise, what should people be doing?
Sure. So if you had to say what is the one investment that we know has been a part of the world that the Lord has given us from the beginning, I would argue that is gold. And then you have to ask the question, what is gold? But let's go back to the first. What's the first instance that we know of where gold shows up? Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 through 12.
Yeah.
The rivers flow out of Eden, one of it's Pisah, and when it goes to Havilah. And there is gold in that land, and the gold of that land is good.
Right.
Okay, so why is the Lord letting Adam, and then through Moses' pen, why are we told that? I think it matters, and you can indirectly make some pretty good conclusions from that. Gold is the standard throughout the Proverbs, throughout Solomon has tons of gold. Yesterday in Doug's sermon, he referred to gold twice when he's talking about, well, that's the gold standard, or that's it is part of our being, that's what our standard is. Then if we want to talk about why would you want it as an investment? My background is also, I was in the sales and trading part of institutional Wall Street for most of my career, which is directly correlated to why I'm doing this now, having seen the way that engine works. Ask yourself this question, and we can talk about lots of different reasons why one might want to own gold. But the number one reason I'd proffer would be, look, tell me in the largest investors in the world, whether it's sovereign wealth funds, the Saudis, Singapore, Norway, or if it's the central banks, China, Japan, the United States, all the European countries, what's their number one asset outside of the real estate holdings they have? Physical gold.
Wow.
The United States of America has 8,300 tons of gold in Fort Knox. Current market value is something like $500 billion. Uh-huh. So the Chinese report, in terms of their
data is accurate.
Yeah. They report. My guess is, and others in the industry would guess, it's probably 10 times what they say it is. So they're claiming they have like 1,800 tons. My guess it's more like 15,000. So. Wow. Forget every other argument. Why do I not get on the same side of the trade as the largest investors in the world? And that is also inclusive of the largest. There's a term called a family office. So what does that mean? It just simply means if God blesses you with enough wealth, or perhaps in some cases curses you with enough wealth, that you don't need you'll have your own internal lawyer, you'll have your own internal CIO, and you do that from within the office. Those families globally, absolutely all of them have some sort of, and let me back up, not all of them. If you look in European families and non-U.S. families, almost all of them have a material position in gold. What's material mean? 5 to 10% of their net worth, something along those lines. So that's the introductory rationale.
That's helpful. So why, right now, investing in real estate, with all the options out there, like why invest in gold? That's something I've never done. I know.
Sure.
I've had family members invest in silver, but I've never even really thought about it seriously.
Right.
Why?
Well, again, ask yourself, why are these the biggest investors in the world? Why are they involved in that trade? What's the reason? And the reason is, if we simply look at financial history since the United States became the biggest, baddest dude on the street, which is, let's call it post-World War I. We have had three crisis decades, I'll call them. It was the 30s, the 70s, and the 2000s. Well, what's common between the three of those? Is it inflation? No, it's not inflation. The 70s had inflation, but the 30s didn't, and the 2000s didn't either. What were the 30s? That was a deflationary period. Mm-hmm. What were the 2000s? You'd call that disinflation, or it wasn't really an issue. All right, well, wait a second. Why is gold having its best decades in those three? Well, my argument would be it's periods of chaos. Mm-hmm. When the United States becomes the global power, and if we're going to go back in history, look at the Romans, look at the Spanish, look at the Brits, or whoever you want to pick out.
Yeah.
When things start going haywire is when you start seeing that natural tendency to go back to what do I know works always in every society, every race, every creed, every continent. Gold, I can take a gold bar or gold coins today and go to every continent on the earth, and I can set up a financial account against which
it's like Bitcoin.
Except for the fact that Bitcoin is not a tangible asset.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm not a
anti-Bitcoin. No,
I'm not an anti-crypto. I think crypto is screaming with a megaphone to get out of fiat currencies. That's what that's telling you, that there's something inherently wrong with I don't care if it's the pound, the yen, the euro, the dollar, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. Cryptos are telling you we don't trust this. Right. So the gold is 30s. You have the Depression. You have the Dust Bowl. You have the rise of Hitler in World War II. In the 70s, Nixon reneges on the American promise. One of the worst things that this country's ever done in those terms is just, we were just kidding. What do you mean you're just kidding? You were supposed to be able to take $1, bring it to the Treasury, and they would hand you over gold.
Right.
But Charles de Gaulle figured that out, and he realized that because we were blowing ourselves up in the Vietnam War, he's like, oh, well, I don't want these dollars. I'm going to take them. So he set a destroyer sitting out in Washington, D.C., waving the gold, and John Connally, the treasurer at the time, and Nixon said, well, we're just not going to do that. So you renege on your promise. Nixon resigns. We have helicopters on top of the Saigon embassy.
Yep.
Carter, Malays, and then we look like the Keystone Cops in the late 80s trying to get the hostages out of Iran. What does gold do? It goes from $35 an ounce to nearly $800 at the first part of the 80s. So I've given you the 30s, the 70s. What's the 2000s? Planes hit the towers at 9/11. Mm-hmm. Enron blows up. WorldCom blows up. Then the asset that can never go down, U.S. home prices go down, and we go to a place that also was a driver for why I started this business. Goldman, Citibank, all those guys every last one of them should be out of business. If they played by the rules all of us have to play by.
Right. Yeah.
So I gave you 3 decades, 3 periods of chaos.
Right.
And what's the shining asset?
Investment.
It's gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that this is more of a historical question, maybe just broadly. We've gone off the gold standard, but it sounds like what you're saying in terms of all these major nations still investing heavily in gold. Gold is still acting kind of like a backstop for our economies. So we're not, again, it's not one for one anymore. So we've gone off the standard, but it sounds like you're saying part of the reason why we can go off the standard and not everybody immediately freaks out and everything collapses is because they know, well, there's still a lot of gold behind this as well as other assets behind this. And so that allows it kind of, is it propping up the fiat currency?
Well, it's first of all, who's been the buyer of physical gold, say, over the last 20 years? It's not the United States. We haven't added an ounce to our declared reserve. But when I was right before we started this firm, I went to Europe and was doing a due diligence trip, talking to some of the banks over there, Lloyd's of London insurers. That's a key part of what this is. But my last stop, was at the Zurich Airport, and I went to the south part of the Zurich Airport is a company called Renus Logistics, and this old German was there, and he was my last interview. And I, Mr. Hunter, yes, it's amazing. I've been here at this airport for many, many years, and it used to be whenever for every plane that would fly out with gold, we would have one that would come in. Now we have one plane that flies in with gold that goes to stay at our reserve, and we have 5 that fly out.
Wow.
And those 5 are going to China, and they are going to Saudi Arabia. Who's buying? The Chinese are buying, the Russians are buying, and what did we just get through with last week? The BRICS conference. And Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and now all these other countries. Now, does that mean the dollar is going to blow up tomorrow? Absolutely not. If you look at world trade, in fact, the dollar's actually increased in world trade over the last couple of years. Euro's down big time, but the dollar,
right.
But I'm just telling you, if we look at things in the margin, if you look at it and go, okay, which way are we going?
Yeah, how's it trending?
And it's trending away from the dollar and towards what the BRICS are doing, and what the BRICS are absolutely doing, what they have been doing, is buying physical gold, and it will be part of what they have in mind.
Okay,
Why aren't we? If we can see that, why aren't we buying gold in America?
Because we are the smartest people in the room. When you got the smartest people in the room that think that, look, that's passé, that was a long time ago, we're not doing that anymore. And I would tell you that's New York and Washington. The guys that run this show right now, they believe they're the smartest people in the room, and that, But to your point, I think it's absolutely, is it the fail-safe? It's absolutely the fail-safe. If all these best laid plans of mice and men don't work, let gold's price actually fly. Don't do anything in the futures markets. Don't do London, New York, okay, buddy system. I'll swap it to you, you swap it to me, and that way we keep a lid on the price. Let that price go, and you've got a fail-safe. But I'm just telling you, in terms of who's go to Goldman, go to Morgan Stanley, go to J.P. Morgan. They're like, no.
And probably the same reason. Why are we pumping our military full of women and trannies?
Yes.
Why are we
so that we're not military ready at all?
Why are all our
because we're the smartest ones in the room?
Why are all our corporate companies doing all these DEI policy and all ESG and stuff? Well, because we think we're the smartest people in the room, and we are arrogant and full of hubris.
Well, that's it's interesting when we were talking offline earlier. One of the things that he started talking about is like Christians need to be anti-fragile with their investments and stuff like that. Right. And there's something, and maybe this is, when I've looked at gold, like when Tucker was on Fox, like every other commercial,
I was going to talk about that. Yeah,
was gold. Yeah. And then there's all these like commercials for like buy these gold coins, invest in this and that kind of thing.
The Trump gold coin almost got me on that one.
That's not, almost. That's not what you're doing. You weren't selling gold coins. But that to me, I think maybe it was one of the reasons why I never really invested in gold, because I always felt like it was a little gimmicky.
Yeah.
It feels like the infomercial. There's like an infomercial that's in your head with gold.
What are you tricking me?
So what's the difference here?
Yeah, so talk about the gimmicky and then talk about, kind of your anti-fragile.
Should I buy that Trump gold coin?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
You're right.
Hey, man.
All right.
Yeah. No, and this is one of the biggest hurdles that the industry has to clear. If we looked on the internet right now, I could show you 10, 15, 25 different online gold, we're the best, and if you'll notice, all the traffic is trying to push you to the coin, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's because the coin has the widest bid offer spread, and the dealer's going to make the most money on that trade. I'm not telling you they're always bad. They're not always bad, and sometimes
so the Trump coin might have been
Trump coin. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Got some eBay value though.
It was collector 1,000 out of 200 million.
That's exactly what they said.
but that's where they're going to want to that's where the industry wants to push you, as it is today. We'll drive down the street and like, we buy gold, right? Okay, well, this is pawnbrokers and guys that are, I'll buy it from you for $500. I'm going to turn around and sell it for $2,000, right? So that's where all the nonsense is, and that's
the coinage.
Yes,
okay,
and that's where that's why the industry gets a terrible name. But again,
and is it because like oftentimes they're almost pitched as like a collective coin?
Correct.
So there's like this artistic heartstring, so where. Knox might not be excited about a Biden gold coin,
right?
But then you pitch a Trump gold
Things
coin
are getting
to
bad,
him.
though.
But then you pitch a Trump gold coin to him, and he's like, "Wow, that's fun. I want to own that." Is it part of like this kind of artistic collective nature of the coin that's playing at your strings too?
Yes, I mean there's like what is called the numismatic coins, which are who designed them, what year were they made, how many were made, all that. But all that's collectible stuff.
Interesting.
And again, that's a market. There's a market for the Trump.
Yeah.
And there are markets for that. But that's a different discussion from why do you want to have it as part of your why a Christian family or a Christian institution wants to have it as part of our core strategic investment. Now we're going to buy gold kilos. And those are right today. They're $65,000 per kilo. Now,
is that one bar?
One bar. And one bar is less. It's smaller than that.
Wow.
So, and in terms of the refined gold in the world, we could probably put the refined gold, all of it in the world, on this easily on this block. And again. Why does it have what in the world? What's the why? What? And again, I think it goes back all the way to the second chapter of Genesis, and then look how mankind's gone forward, and boom.
Okay, so what are you doing? Like you aren't doing the gold coin thing.
I mean, we do. I sell gold coins. Again, it
Trump
depends on not Trump ones. Okay. I'm not.
Sorry,
Trump.
I'm just. Go ahead.
Although I have heard there's a chocolate Knox gold coin.
I'll buy that.
Now, if that comes out, that comes out.
Oh man, I'm in on that one.
Who's going to make a collector edition of Cross Politics? Yeah.
But so, I mean, they're apropos depending on what is the reason. Depends on who I'm talking to. And I'm sure there's some of those watching, listening today that are like, well, we're fixing to go Mad Max, right? And as soon as we go Mad Max, I need to have gold and silver coins. Now, I might have a discussion with that guy and say, I really don't think that's where we're going. But if we are going there, then you might want to have those. You'd rather have a can of tuna fish if we're really going Mad Max.
Right.
But I can get my arms around why. But if someone was to ask me, do you think it's really going to get that bad? As we at dinner the other night, I told you Yuri Brito asked me, Jim, you came in here as a Reformed Episcopalian and you were a millennial and you're not communing every Sunday and you're pedo baptism, but has anything changed at all? And I said, well, I have certainly become much more post-millennial, although I keep the eye, so I call myself an Italian eschatology, and that is I'm a post-millennial. and so it's what I say to those guys. Look, if we're post-millennial, we're generally optimistic.
Yeah.
Then no. Are we going to buy gold forever and ever and never be short gold at all or at a zero? We'll probably never be at zero, but I can absolutely imagine a time when you would sell that position. Say in 1933. When the stock market had dropped 90% and you can buy, now they're paying you a 6% dividend and you're only buying 6 years into the future in terms of the prices, of the price you're buying. Same thing was true in 1982. You're supposed to sell and buy stock, but not now. I mean, Apple's a great company. Apple will they continually amaze in how the products they put out that innovate. And yet, am I supposed to buy those guys at 30 times earnings? I'm supposed to extrapolate 30 times in years in the future that they're going to keep, and no competitor will arise. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Right. And the guy,
unless we have fascism.
we do. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So then how do you do this? So, I guess the question is, let's say that, and how much money do you need to get started? There's kind of all kinds, because
$65,000.
I saw that if you want one bar at least.
I heard about that.
But I'm wondering if it's like, okay, so does a family go in and say, guys, let's raise $65K, or their entry levels into this? I mean, they weren't selling those Trump coins for that much. I just want you to know that.
Right.
How do you get started, and what levels can you, what's the entry level?
The entry level can be very, very small. The first question to ask is, wait a minute, what if I'm a family and I've got X amount of net worth? Well, what's the number supposed to be that you would recommend? Jim, what would you recommend it would be in terms of percentage of your net assets? And that answer is 10% plus or minus 5. If you are the more cautious you are, the larger that percentage is going to be.
Is that just a general investment?
And where I'm coming from with that is go back to when we are in the gold standard, pre-Fed. Go to rich guys' houses in New York or wherever you want to go, and they all have an internal safe, and in that safe they kept their gold and silver. I mean, they didn't think about it. In 1933, in the heart of the worst of the Depression, FDR called in all Americans that had gold. They had to turn their gold in on penalty of getting arrested. Yes.
Really? What is this?
Whoa.
What? Communist country? What is this?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that funny? That was 100 years ago.
Wow.
Are you guys aware of this? I mean,
no, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, 1933. It was
I knew FDR was a bad guy.
Yeah.
I knew FDR was bad.
Oh, yeah. He was a real bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first things, executive order, turn the gold in. And, of course, what did he do? As soon as they waved it all in, then now it's in the government coffers, and they raised the price. So it helped them on the government problems.
Right.
But the question is, why did he do it? The why was because it was so ubiquitous every American had it.
Yeah.
Of course they had it.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to today. Is that something we need to worry about? Absolutely not.
Yeah. I don't got any gold.
Outside of the government, the central banks, some of the sovereign wealth funds that I mentioned, and a global families around the globe that are already there in terms of wanting to. I mean, most middle class wealthy families I talk to are at zero allocation.
Yeah,
and so what's fascinating to me is that you're not playing the futures game with gold. You're actually when people invest with you, it's actually they're buying into gold bars. They're
physical
buying into
gold coins or bars. Correct.
And you guys have a vault where you keep all the gold for your clients, or you could even ship the gold to them.
That's correct. Whatever they prefer. It's the question is, what
I didn't even know I could own a gold bar.
Well, yeah. So what, I come to you with $2,000. You just take that thing and shave off a few shavings and put it in a Ziploc bag and send it to me. How are you doing that?
Well, $2,000 you would buy a 1/10 of an ounce coin.
Okay.
If you wanted to, I would probably. Especially with the relationship of the price of silver to the price of gold right now, I'd probably have you 1,000 in silver and 1,000 in gold.
Oh, you can do silver too.
Yes, and silver is more volatile.
Yep.
If you look at if gold is doing this, silver's doing this.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at the big rallies gold had in the 70s and in the 2000s, silver was 3 to 4 or 5 times what gold did in terms of going up. Mm-hmm. It works in the reverse too, of course.
It drops too.
Yes, it drops way worse than when we peaked out in 2011. Gold fell about 45%. Silver fell more like 80. So from top to bottom, you just have to be prepared for that. But in terms of entry points. But let me finish my thought about the why you do not need to fear FDR right now. FDR, it was a material take of the government to tell Americans to turn in their gold and make it illegal to own it. That was reversed by Gerald Ford in 1975, I think, and you've had a robust gold market since then. But even in the midst of that robustness of the market, it's not ubiquitous like it was in 1933. So they ain't worried about that. They're worried about derivative exposure of Deutsche Bank to J.P. Morgan. They're worried about, yes, we've got $250,000 in FDIC insurance, and we got $25 billion in capital, and it should already be exhausted by what happened on the West Coast earlier this year. Bigger fish to fry than going after gold positions now.
Right. Yeah.
So then if I wanted to sell my gold, let's say I bought $10,000 worth of gold or silver from you, I just bring it back to you, or how does
Correct.
it?
Okay. You can go to me, or there are 1,000 guys on the
there that would buy it.
Correct.
So then,
So you can either keep the gold in his vault, or you can have it shipped to your house. Which is, again, I would love to own a gold bar, actually.
And that's just priced just on what the current market value is.
That's correct.
Is what you buy at and what you sell at.
And again, let's go. You asked me the question: coins or bars or et cetera. It's that bid offer spread is where where the dealers make their money. Why are they pushing you to the coins? Because their bid offer spreads like this, and whereas if it's on a bar, it's more like this. They're making more money on the coin per transaction, and because of the fact that most investors are smaller, then they're trying to. That's where they want to go. Now, sometimes in some cases you can understand that. Silver coin right now is like on average between there's 6 major government mints: the United States, Canada, Austria, Britain, Australia, and South Africa. And among the 6 of those, the silver coin is going to come somewhere like $32 a coin. But wait a minute, what's that priced on? It's priced on spot. So what's spot right now? Spot's about 24, 25. Let's call it $24 an ounce for silver. Wait, 24 for spot. Why am I buying the coin at 32?
Right.
Well, what you pull out of the Earth's crust ain't ready to be a coin.
Right.
That's got to be shipped. It's got to be refined. It's got to be sent to the mint. It's got to be turned into a coin, and that's distributed to the dealer. So you can follow where that bid offer spread goes. Yeah. But then also, if I sell, if I'm a dealer, and let's say I was buying it at spot, and I gave 1 silver coin, well, that transaction I made $6. Okay, well, that's not much money. Well, it's a lot of money in terms of the markup from where I own it and where I sold it to him.
Right.
And if I get into any sort of size, again, that's why the dealer community wants to push you that way. And again, sometimes you should. I'm not saying it's just they're all bad. I'm just saying what I say to all my guys: keep your eyes wide open, understand what you're doing.
Right.
If you buy this, here's where spot is. This is where you're buying it. You're probably going to sell it in next week at $10 off where you just bought it. As long as everybody knows what's going on, then you can go forward.
Compare. You mentioned earlier, if we go Mad Max, you probably want a can of tuna,
right?
More than like some gold coins,
right?
Compare this also to in terms of ability to use wealth is what we're talking about, and so there's the ability to save, which I think is the advantage you're arguing for here in terms of precious metals,
correct?
Gold, but usefulness is another thing. Some argument that the value of gold holds, so in that sense, useful. Compare this to why not land? Why not real estate? Which is one of the other major things people would argue for is invest in land. Real estate prices go up and down, but you can always use land. I mean, you can at least farm. You can at least make some food. You can raise some cattle, whatever. Compare, contrast. And I know maybe somewhat different uses, but what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Liquidity is the quick answer. And I'm 100% behind everything you just said. And again, I'm not telling someone you got to go, let's sell everything and buy 80%.
It's not necessarily either or.
Right. No, it's both and. No doubt about it. Yeah, I've got the cryptocurrency question. That's intangible, but gold is tangible. Real estate is tangible, and what I would argue where we're headed, certainly as as Christians who believe the mandate and what God made was good. Well, the tangibility of that is good too.
Right.
But it's liquidity. It takes me a long time to sell a piece of land. Usually land, houses, etc. Gold, again, I can pick up the phone today and get 5 guys to bid on my coins or bars.
I see.
The thing, I'll finish here. The thing that was really interesting when we were talking earlier too is like we were talking about kind of Christians being anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Not depending on, you can't start your own bank. So, I mean, it's pretty hard. It's difficult. It's probably easier to buy a bank than actually start your own.
Right.
Kind of concept. But like the thing I appreciated about gold is that if you want to own your own financial infrastructure, you can actually own your own gold.
Right.
And that's in terms of being like anti-fragile in the economy and the new the what's going to happen. That's a pretty interesting point to me.
What's the website that we need to go to?
Well, my website is alpspmg.com. So ALPSPMG.com. Now, on that, you're not going to find a lot of bells, whistles, etc. You're going to find my 3 partner firms, which are for those listeners overseas. I have a partner in the little country of Liechtenstein Precious Metals. In the United States, I have 2 partners, Texas Precious Metals, which is in the little town of Shiner, Texas, where Shinerbach beer comes from.
There we
Yes,
go.
sir.
There we go.
And then my third partner, and one of the other pushbacks is, well, you buy gold and you get no income. Why would I want to do that? My third partner is Monetary Metals, and you can own gold and silver at Monetary Metals and lease it out or lend it out for a interest income, which is paid. It's gold on gold, silver on silver. Mm-hmm. Are you taking risk? Absolutely. Are you taking risk when you get a money market return of 5% at the bank? Absolutely, you're taking risk. What's the risk? What if the bank goes kablamo? Or what if? And this is
They'll get bailed out though.
Actually, the new term. Are you familiar with bail-in law?
No.
Okay, go to the Dodd-Frank bill and look up and just pull up bail-in. The new way this is going to be dealt with is not by bailing out. It's going to be bailed in under the guise of we're not going to have the American taxpayer taking on the chin anymore. Correct, because what you're going to do is any reserve over $250,000 is going to be subject to what the FDIC tells you you're going to get back, because the way you save the banks going forward is bailing in those that have deposits over $250,000.
Fascism.
We need to track down
Correct.
some stuff on that. That's really
wow.
Yeah. So last thing here. So actually, me and Jim are going to do 2 webinars, and that's why you got to sign up to our email list. So we're going to do a webinar because this has been fascinating to me to learn about all this. But September 14th at 4 p.m. Pacific time and September 20th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Got to join our email list. We'll send out Zoom links through that. There'll be a sign up form to kind of fill out and talk with Jim about a good solution for gold. And of course, if you guys work with Jim, he supports us. And
what do you need to send me an email to get to join the list?
Well, you can email contact@fightlaughfeast.com. Contact@fightlaughfeast.com. And just have mention to my assistants that you want to join the webinar on September 14th or September 20th, or we'll send an email out where you can just sign up too.
But if you have the app, it just be right inside the links for the show. If you have the app, that's why I want to get the app. Oh, look at that. The show's already over.
It's done.
Just hit my little thing. That's okay. The button just did it by itself. That's okay. Jim, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
Real pleasure.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next time, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.
Someday it'd be nice if I could.
I hope my son is gay.
And I hope that Jesus forgives him just like he does the rest of us.
Doug Wilson, Moscow minister and columnist with the Idahonian Daily News.
The question that confronts us is, what does it mean in a disobedient culture to be prophetic?
There be a place for same-sex couples,
No marriage.
even though it's the law of the land in the United States.
Just like Roe used to be. We want to turn the world upside down, and you don't turn the world upside down by being nice.
I believe that we are in this polytheistic, pluralistic moment, and the desperate need of the hour is for our Christian leadership to say, Jesus is Lord, and there is no other.
Fear no man.